Chris, how are we?
Very good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, great. Obviously, it's fantastic to have you on as well. So it's brilliant. Let's dive.
Well,
Obviously,
thanks for inviting us.
yeah, no problem at all. Let's dive straight in.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So Chris, I'm going to go straight into obviously a topic that's just come up recently. Obviously, the null and void situation in the Women's Super League. I just want to know what the thoughts are from that. I know it was a bit of transition for a while, not knowing what was going to happen. What was it like once it got announced?
Well, it's been to and fro in sort of from the FA and clubs for a little while. Obviously, it's disappointing for us, especially being sat at the top of the table, that things haven't been able to be finished off. But in the current circumstances, obviously safety comes first. The safety of players, staff, public from games and all that kind of thing. And ultimately, I think the right decision's been made by the FA. So obviously it wasn't taken lightly. There was a lot of discussion between the FA and the clubs. But they've come to the decision now. The only thing they've got to sort out now is what the sporting outcome of the season looks like. So as soon as that's obviously been decided between the clubs and the FA, I'm sure there'll be another update on what's happening.
Yeah, and just upon there, Chris, obviously there was a lot of back and forth, and it wasn't quite clear early on what was going to happen, obviously. And how in that time did you keep the goalkeepers engaged in a lockdown period, and what sort of challenge was that?
Well, I mean, it's still ongoing now, even though the season's null and void. Well, it's not null and void. It's been declared, obviously, as it's not going to continue ahead.
Yeah.
The goalkeepers have their own individual physical programs that they're working to, that's specific to obviously what their physical needs are. I've stayed in constant contact with them, making sure that they're obviously getting on with that, which, if I'm honest, I don't need to do that. They're highly motivated players anyway that I've got, so I'm fortunate that I don't have to sort of watch every move as they make. I trust them because I've seen them on a day-to-day basis that they're going to be doing the right things and the things that are set by the club. Obviously, mental well-being is another side of things that we've got to make sure is everything's okay with. Are they coping okay with not being at the club? And to be fair, everyone seems to be in good spirits, both goalkeepers, outfield players, staff. We've stayed in constant contact and made sure as everybody's sort of doing okay. So in terms of what they've been doing exactly what I just said then, their own physical programming and other bits and pieces that they've been doing. Obviously, with the lockdown, it's been a little bit more difficult, but the club's been fantastic. It's provided them with certain pieces of equipment for the houses, depending on obviously different properties have different sort of spaces that they can use. So each individual has had a lot of sort of support from different departments and different bits and pieces that they've been given. So it's been good.
Brilliant. And Chris, obviously, you touch on working with some of the goalkeepers. One of them is obviously Karen Bardsley. How good is Karen, and what's it like working with Karen every day?
I've been working with Karen now since 2014. Obviously, I've got to know her on and off the pitch. She's a fantastic goalkeeper, unbelievable character, unbelievable desire to improve, even at the stage of career that she's at this moment in time. She still wants to get those small things, those small details. What can I do today to improve? What's the plan? And she'll do everything and beyond to do that. Now, from where I picked her up, she was established as the club's undisputed number one. And she's been unbelievable for us in terms of winning leagues, cups, and things like that. The big moments that she's produced, and the same for England, same for a country. But as the years have gone on, she's had some injuries, she's had some different things to cope with. I have to say, her coping mechanism has been outstanding. Has there been wobbles along the way? 100%. But that's what we're there for as support staff. But her actual abilities as a goalkeeper are second to none. There's not many in the game that can rival that. She makes unbelievable saves that you go, how the hell have you done that? But again, from that stance, that's a natural thing. Does she want to sit and accept that that's her done? No, she's 35 years old now and still wanting to learn, still wanting to improve, still wanting to get better. And she's not afraid to be fair to. Obviously, we've got another 2 goalkeepers that are outstanding, both senior international goalkeepers, and she's more than willing to look at those goalkeepers like Ellie Roebuck, who we've got coming through. Obviously, one of her main outstanding attributes, as well as a goalkeeping, if that's what you want to call it, making saves and with crosses and things, is a ability to build up and play with her feet, which is KB will quite openly sort of admit that that's one of her weaknesses, if that's what you want to call it. And she's quite happy to share and to learn from the younger goalkeeper, knowing that she can pick up and get better. And so, in terms of the whole package, she's unbelievable that she's willing to sort of learn from a 20-year-old goalkeeper to go, how did you work your way out of that situation? How did you deal with that? And what did you do to improve this? She'll ask questions all the time and always want to improve.
Yeah, and that's fantastic insight, and it kind of leads on to what my next question was going to be about Ellie Roebuck, and it was kind of the flip side of what you've just said. Was does Ellie learn from Karen, take things from her?
100%, yeah. We bought Ellie in as a 15-and-a-half-year-old. We always had this plan, like the manager in terms of the manager, my manager, Nick Cushion has been unbelievable with my department. He's always sort of said, you just deal with the goalkeepers, tell me who's playing and I'll play him. So for a manager to show so much sort of faith in myself and in the department to go, this is what it is. Ellie came through, obviously we brought her in as a 15-and-a-half-year-old, and we brought her in on a full-time basis when she left school straight after her GCSEs. We put her in with a house parent. She went to college we've got a college on site on campus. She went to college and trained full-time alongside professionals at 16 years of age. Similar to what Georgia Stanway, Kira Walsh, Lauren Hemp, obviously of our team now, they've all done very similar sort of things. But with her, we always sort of had a vision that when KB eventually sort of steps aside, that she's got high potential to sort of take the shirt. And I think what's actually ended up happening is that sort of mind, that sort of thought process has come a lot earlier. Some of it's come through default, if you like, with certain opportunities that she was handed in terms of injuries and sort of players missing games. But when she's gone in and she'll say openly, admit herself again that she's gone in at times and she's made mistakes or she wasn't quite ready or whatever. But we've always backed her. We've always gone, do you know what? You've got the ability to do it. What you need to do is dip in, play a few games, come back out again, come and train, learn, get better, get fitter, get faster, get stronger, and just keep improving on all the attributes as we originally saw as a raw 15-and-a-half-year-old goalkeeper. And now she's 20. Obviously, she's made a senior international debut at 18, I think she was.
Brilliant.
She's got senior cap. She's always travelling with the squads, and obviously she's now looking to do what she's done at Manchester City. She's had a real breakthrough season this year of coming in, establishing herself as a starting goalkeeper, and played, I think, all but 2 or 3 games for us up to the point where the season was cancelled. But obviously off the back of that, like what we said before, is one of Ellie's main attributes when she first came in was her ability to play with her feet. What we always sort of said is the marker for her is going to be, can she make big saves and big moments? And if you go through this season's sort of clips that we've got, some of the saves that she's made have been unbelievable. And she's got that natural ability, but that's all comes through hard work and training, complete desire and endeavour to get better, and learning from the best. Like she's had KB around her to actually learn from, which a lot of young goalkeepers haven't got that. And they'll both tell you themselves they're really good friends off the pitch. Although they're fighting for the same shirt on the pitch, they're both really, really good friends off the pitch as well. So, you know, whether that's going to be when KB becomes fit, and obviously they're then going to be really fighting for the same shirt with Ellie establishing himself this year and coming through. time will tell on that one, but I'm 100% sure with the personalities that they actually are. And then add Karima into that, who's a French goalkeeper that's been outstanding for early this year. I've got a really strong, well-connected department that all willing to learn and learn from each other as well.
How helpful when you're coaching them, if they have, because obviously there can only be one named, how helpful is that they've got a positive attitude, like you say, the friends off the pitch, and yes, there's still a high drive to get named, but how helpful is that to you as a coach, that they've got quite a positive atmosphere?
It's massive, because I haven't got to then manage the players. I can just get on with the designing the practices, putting the practices on, and within those practices making it individual for them to all learn from. So there may be the practices there. You obviously can't just go, this is for you. You've all got to get something out of it. But there'll be times where I'm turning around to pick a ball up, and I'll turn back around and they're all having a discussion, and they're all talking about the things that I've spoken about, or one of them's seen something as they think can help the other one. So they're not that precious in going, you know what, I ain't going to tell them that, because that's going to make them better, which is going to make them a football heavier than me. They're all so willing to sort of share the information that they've got in their own heads with each other, which helps me massively as a coach, because one, they're helping me to coach individually, so it says that the messages I'm putting across, they're all putting across to each other. And two, it just makes the practices flow so much better. You know, I've been involved in practices before where people don't particularly get on, and it just doesn't flow at all. There's no flow to it. There's a horrible atmosphere there, and you're going, oh my God, get me out of here.
So, Chris, obviously, Manchester City, as we spoke about, we just want to delve more into them. So, as a club, what's it like working for a club of that stature?
You sometimes have to pinch yourself every day. Like, you sometimes go, the facility that, I mean, everybody talks about what we've got.
Yeah.
The facility that we've got, sometimes you look in and you go, I'm driving to Disneyland here today. It's ridiculous. You really do sort of just go, oh my God, this place is amazing. And that never stops. Like, I find myself feeling so fortunate and lucky to be working in the facility and the environment that I do with people that they just want to improve people. Like, whether that be working with the women's first team or working with the boys academy, it's exactly the same. Everybody's got the same goal, to get players, to improve players. This is a staff. We're all looking to improve players and get the best out of both the players that are coming through and see them going through into the first team, or if that's the boys academy or the girls academy coming through and sort of training up with us. Everybody just wants to do the best by everybody, and you do just find yourself sometimes looking around the place going, wow, you know, I've taken my family to the place and they've gone, oh my God, is this where you come to work? Yeah, it is, yeah. And I actually do something that I love doing. It's the best of both worlds that you can ever imagine. Like, when I finish playing, this is the next best thing.
Yeah.
So you know, you and I never take that as granted. I never take. I just walk in the building and, you know, I've arrived at work. I'm always so thankful of the opportunity that I'm given to work there, and want to just do my best for everybody that's there.
Yeah, and you've sort of went into it there. Did that sort of inspire you to, well, I'm going to up my level even more now, I'm going to push myself more? Was that a bit of inspiration when you walk into?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked hard with everything. I've had times, and I've got a young family. I've got a wife at home as well that's unbelievably supportive of the career pathway that I've taken, which makes it's half the battle done for me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to go home and sort of explain myself. She gets it. She understands that, and she knows that when I'm at home, and that's my time with her and the family.
Yeah.
But from my point of view, like, I've gone through my Advanced Youth Award, my Goalkeeping A license, my Outfield A license. I'm always sort of looking in. Obviously, I spend a lot of time with Steely, one of your guys.
Yeah.
Spend a hell of a lot of time with him. Always catching up with him, doing bits and pieces. He's an absolutely outstanding coach, as you know yourselves.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tim Dittmer's been in and done bits with you as well, so he's unbelievable. I think I actually came in and replaced Tim at City. I came in to almost take his job when he went into the FA.
Mm-hmm.
He's taught me loads as well, and you know the people that I've got around the building, you'd be daft not to look and sort of speak to them and gain what their experiences are, what their opinions of football are. Even you know, I've just had a conversation now with another coach, and he's talking about what he wants to do with the role of the goalkeeper and what his philosophies are. And you're talking to people that are just at a different level that you go, I can learn so much from these. And you almost want to just harness all that information, take it in, and sift through it and utilize stuff in your own job role.
Brilliant. And Chris, what would your advice be to any young goalkeepers out there that have the ambition to go on and play at the best level they possibly can?
I think first and foremost, I had this advice not by a coach, but it was actually by my dad. When my dad used to play in goal, he was a goalkeeper as well. And first and foremost is enjoy it. That's the first bit, and I think what will happen then is you'll play your best football. Take in as much experience as you possibly can. Come to coaching sessions. Take part in all different aspects of things, not just goalkeeping, outfield stuff as well, because everybody knows at this moment in time the role of the goalkeeper. You look at Edison, you look at the goalkeepers as we've got at our club, and the top goalkeepers around the world. Alisson at Liverpool. You've got you can ream off God knows how many different goalkeepers in the world that are outstanding with their feet, and it's no coincidence you've done something as an outfield player. So it's making sure as you've got that full capacity of using all the different tools and all the different skills. First and foremost is just enjoy it though. And the other side to it is don't just fixate yourself on the football side of things. Play different sports as well, because all that kind of thing will help you with different coordination, different agility practices that you don't even know that you're doing if you're playing a game of tennis. You're utilising different muscle groups, you're utilising different skills, albeit with a ball and its hand-eye coordination. But it will help you. There's no doubt about it. Doing different activities is something that will help you as a footballer. But again, it is about the enjoyment side of things. If you've got a talent for it and you're spotted, take in all the information you possibly can from your coaching staff as you go through your years. Because I see so many sort of high potential players that you come across and you just don't listen. If they're in the environment, I think they're in their environment, that's me, I'm going to be playing for England one day or with whatever country they're linked to. It doesn't work like that. You've got to put in the graft, you've got to put in the hours and the practice behind the scenes that you don't see with a lot of players. There's some less talented players that have made it as footballers because of their attitude and their application to the game and to learning and to wanting to go away and get better. Whereas you've got somebody who's got high talent that's got that less of that part in the pot. You just don't make it for whatever reason. You do get the odd one that comes through that they can sort of float the way through, but the vast majority it is about their application, their attitude to practice, their attitude towards the coaches, all that those kind of things count towards so much in getting yourself to the highest possible level that you can be on.
Fantastic. Chris, I'm just interested on your thoughts. Obviously, it's a subject that I think it's sort of come into the press at maybe the start of the year, off the top of my head, is the size of women's goals, and should they be sort of changed or think?
No.
Are you aware of the sort of speculation and where sort of Emma Hayes come out and supported it and whatnot? I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. And is it a discussion that's come up with your goalkeepers?
No, I think they've almost sort of laughed it off. To be fair, yeah. If you look at the World Cup, there's a save. I can't remember who they were playing. It might have been Japan. That KB makes, and the ball's heading straight towards the top corner. She's got straight up there. She's gone and made the save. It's no coincidence that she's made that save. I've seen her make that save 4,000 times in a month in training. It's about I think in the women's game now, the coaching, the profile of players is getting bigger. The coaches that are coming into the game now are getting bigger. You know, you're looking at people that are transferring over from the men's game that are now wanting to come and work with the women's game. Yes, it's different. It has its difference. It does have its differences, but I don't see why goal size and pitch size should ever come into it, really, because, you know, from my point of view, that's then down to your coaching staff, your physical staff, and everybody else to get a bit better output, to come up with a bit better result like that. And, you know, I think I've spoken to other goalkeeping coaches across the league, and they all agree that there shouldn't really be. I don't see why there should be any kind of change to that, because then you're going to be talking about the size of the pitch. Should they make the pitch smaller and narrower, and it gets crazy then. I think that, yes, there's differences within men's and women's football, but I don't think you need to change too much around it. It's more different upskilling the players and upskilling the squad.
Yeah.
That'll help with that.
Fantastic. Yeah, I personally completely agree with you. Obviously, you just with that, women's football's grown, and it's something I've seen working women's football myself as a manager, and it's something I've seen accelerate. And obviously, everyone's now seeing that it's accelerating. In your time working, and obviously, what's been your thoughts on it and how quickly it's actually accelerating? I think England going and doing so well in the competitions has helped that on.
I can remember one of my first experiences in the first few games that we had, and you're getting on one of these unbelievable buses, and you're going, this is decent. This, and I got to the game, and the game was like, what is this? It was so strange. But during that first season, I learned so much, and I learned self-taught so much. Spoke to people, and almost gone, actually, this is going places. This, you could see from a lineup, you could see from a team handshake that the physicality of players was changing, and it was coming out of that. And this is where people's mindsets have got to start changing now. They've got to start looking at it and going, this isn't in its amateur stages anymore. This is professional. Our team is fully integrated into the club. It's fully integrated into the building. There's people now transferring from our boys' side over onto the women's side, and they're actually seeing that as a massive step up in their own personal careers. And the way the game has grown now is phenomenal. Like my first season, we won the Continental Cup. We were fortunate enough to get to the final, and we beat Arsenal in the final. I think there was 4,000 people there, which was loud. It was big. It was a great experience. And I've been fortunate enough to go to Wembley twice, and it's got up to 50,000 plus in there. Yeah. And that there in itself speaks absolutely volumes for the clubs that have heavily invested into it, for the supporters that come to the games, and they trudge up and down the countries, and they're loud, and you hear them from the dugout, and I'm sure the players hear them on the pitch. The crowds are getting bigger. They've changed the league now to mirror the men's season. We're now playing in the men's stadiums. So obviously the first game of our season this year was a local derby against Manchester United. We had 32 or 33,000 there, I think it was.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
You're getting changed in Pep Guardiola's office. Unbelievable experience again. You're getting bussed over from the training ground, which is 100 yards away to the state, and there's fanfare outside. There's people lined up, people shouting the players' names, and I think that's another side of things. The women's football players are walking around, and they're not as able to walk around now. They're more recognised. They're all wanting selfies. They're all, the profile of player, as I said before, is getting bigger and bigger, and it's just growing so much, and it's grown so fast in the 5 or 6 years as I've worked. Yeah. So God knows what it's going to be like in the next 5 or 6 years. It could be. You look at America, and they're having 50s and 60,000 to games every week. Yeah. That's a massive aim for. At the club, we've got a sort of a strap line of changing the perception of women's football, and I we are definitely doing that. We are challenging the perception of people's opinions of women's football.
Definitely, and you know, obviously something close to my heart, and it's good to hear that at that top level, because I think that the more changes that are made at that top level and publicised, it will have a knock-on effect to grassroots and all the way down.
Absolutely, and I think, like, you've only got to look at the appointment at national level. You've got Phil Neville, who's played at the top level in the Premier League. He's won the Champions League with Manchester United. He's worked under, you know, arguably one of the best managers that there's ever been in the Premier League, and he's the national coach of England women. You know, to have that as a profile to come into the game, and to have that want to come into the game. I've had many conversations with Phil, and obviously he's passionate about what he wants to achieve within the game. You know, he's got a real high passion, and he really wants to drive women's football forward.
Fantastic. And Chris, was going to be the final question, but if you don't mind, I'll throw another one in. Obviously, you give advice about to the players. Obviously, the coaches that are looking to, like myself, that are trying to come up and get to your level. And what's your advice for them, particularly the ones who are wanting to come up in women's football?
Don't be afraid of it, for starters. That's one of my big things. Like, you hear of some people that are going, oh, I don't know whether I can deal with that. Trust yourself. It's no different. You're dealing with football players, and that's my opinion on it. I don't see, if I was dealing with a men's first team or a women's first team, you're dealing with a footballer. You're dealing with somebody who's got the desire and the hunger to get better. And the advantage you're going to have with the women's team, in my opinion, is that they'll hang on to every word as you say. They really will take everything in, and they'll do everything you possibly can to put that information into place. There's, as I was saying before, we're all looking to challenge the perception of women's football, and you know, within all the goalkeeping coaches in the WSL, we're all trying to do that, and we're trying to produce the best out of our goalkeepers.
Yeah.
I think from a coach's point of view, it is about, again, the same, similar to players, get around coaches in the game, speak to coaches that work in the game as high a level as you possibly can to sort of want to learn. And I think that the FA are coming up with a concept now of like a learning package and speaking to the top coaches that are working in the WSL, that are looking at different things and different aspects of goalkeeping within the FA for obviously our side of things. And it is to help with the next sort of cohort of coaches that want to come through and work within the game. So another fantastic concept that the FA are putting together that, you know, I'm pretty sure will be released at some point in the near future. That will be well worth sort of looking in as a resource. And then it's about speaking to, you know, listening to. I mean, KB's done millions and millions of podcasts and talks and bits and pieces. Getting something like this now with a player would be unbelievable, because they'd be able to speak to you about their experiences of, especially if I look at like KB, what she will have come through in her career to get to what it is now. She's come through all of this, whereas the likes of Ellie Roebuck is coming into it with what it looks like right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you're talking, I mean, you listen to a Jill Scott. Some of the stories she's got when she was playing are ridiculous. Like travelling the length and breadth of the country to go training, to come back, to go to work, to get up the following morning, to go to work again, to then travel back down, to then sleep on somebody's couch. Some of these stories that the senior pros have got are ridiculous. And it's just a hunger and desire for the game. The game's changing a little bit now. It's going to sort of what the men's was, where you know, players are getting used to the fact that we starting at CFA. That's their starting. That's their benchmark. But the likes of, you know, Karen Bardsley, Steph Orton, Jill Scott, that sort of era of player, if you could get to speak to them and listen to their journeys, it'd give you a massive insight into what it used to look like, to what they've had to go through to get to where they are now.
Yeah, because it's really interesting that the generation that have seen the adversities and been through themselves of women's football, and you touch upon their players' drive and from club to club, and it's something like you said that FA are putting in place so that that isn't happening now to future generations, and it must be really rewarding for players like Karen to see, well, that's not going to happen to the players coming through, such as Ellie.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. Players like Ellie that have come through. She's got her own story to tell as well. She's come through Sheffield United's academy, and we were fortunate enough to sign her when she was 15 and a half with a high potential. Things have happened. It's probably the reverse for her, because things have happened so fast that she's had to adapt. She's probably had to grow up a lot quicker than a lot of players or a lot of people, especially of her age, will have ever had to do. She moved away from home at 16. She's living away from her parents. She's massively family orientated. Some of those sort of effects that people have, that they're now starting to go through to play for these top clubs as high potential players. That's another story in itself. Their story is probably a little bit more pressurized, if you like, because they've almost got that expectancy on them from day one, which is similar to what our boys do. When the boys come into the building, they've got high expectancy on themselves, high standards that they have to meet, and you are representing the badge at the end of the day. You're representing the club, and first and foremost, you're representing yourself. So you don't want to come into a club like you're coming from school to playing for Manchester City, and within less than 12 months, she's making a debut in front of 5,000 people. Actually coming on for Karen Bardsley, who was her idol at the time. It's that as a story in itself is massive. So again, for people that have got the desire and hunger, go through the same process that I've had to go through. Watching, learning, listening, talking to people. Go through your badges. Go and do your bits and pieces at the FA. Are they difficult? Yes. Are they lengthy? Yes. Is it worth it? 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. Go and speak to the best in the game, and learn as much as you possibly can. Note it all down. Refer back to your notes. Refer back to your bits and pieces. Any video that you can get hold of, or any kind of podcast or anything like that like this. Just get yourself out there and learn as much as you can. And if an opportunity comes up for yourself that you fancy, go for it. What's the worst that can happen? Even if you get a knockback, it's not the worst thing in the world. I've had knockbacks in my playing career. I've had knockbacks in my coaching career. But you learn from it, and you always move forward, and better things will come in the future if you work hard enough for it.
Absolutely fantastic advice. Chris, thank you so much for spending the time to come talk to us. It's been so interesting. Genuinely, everything you said, and I'm sure everyone listening at home, there was something there for everyone, coaches, players, and we hope you enjoyed it. So thank you very much for that, Chris.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure. Anytime.
Absolutely fantastic. So for everyone listening, thanks for tuning in yet again. I'm sure you enjoyed that, and we'll catch you later.